Well, here we are at Cannes, high above the beautiful palais with the red carpet. I'm here with Mark Pappas, EVP of Innovation at CMI. Mark, welcome.
Thanks for having me and putting this on for me.
Yeah, we knew you were coming, so we got the red carpet out for you. So
literally.
So listen, you have a very highfalutin word in your title, innovation. When you're talking about advertising, modern advertising and marketing, what does innovation actually mean?
Yeah, it's funny. There's so many people I met this week, even though it's only been 2 daes, and I tell them my title, and they're like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, that's a great question.
What does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like a word like innovation, I don't think any two people will define it the same way. Our clients at CMI all define it completely in their own terms. I look at it as driving meaningful change for our clients, and not focusing on, a lot of buzzwords and shiny objects just to, do something different. We want to make sure like we're actually driving something that's measurable for the brands.
Yeah, I mean, how do you stay away from buzzwords? Because innovation in certain contexts is a buzzword. It's almost like metrics or drilling down, or to a certain extent AI now.
I think the biggest piece with anything that we do or bring to our clients is making sure that we have the data and rationale to show our clients before we approach them with something new. So we'll work with our internal audience intelligence team to really make sure that there's a need or that is something that's being consumed or used by the patient population. And we'll just use that to kind of bolster our recommendation before we bring it to clients.
So it's innovation is meaningful change.
Yes, and just finding ways really to sidestep what the competition is doing in new and different ways and reach, again, our target audience in new and different ways to cut through a lot of the noise. I mean, an example could be, any medical site you go to or any site in general, you're getting bombarded with banner ads, and most people, I feel like, either have ad blockers on or just are so used to it now they kind of zone them out. But something we did like the partnership with Uber, where we took over the entire Uber app around some of like the largest conferences in the pharma space. It drove a ton of buzz. We ended up winning the best first to market campaign for Digiday, or with Digiday, I should say. And just being able to drive things like that in new ways to get around where everyone's putting all their money.
If innovation is meaningful change, how do you make sure that the change is actually meaningful and driving something forward and has purpose?
So, I mean, I think like a prime example from here is, a lot of the buzzwords on here are like, sustainability, with like DE&I, and with a lot of things like that. A lot of companies say they're sustainable, they throw a green, greenwashing, they'll throw like a green signature on everyone's email instead of, why don't you look at ways to leverage, data partners that are actually offsetting like what they're doing. I mean, one of the things that's kind of mind-blowing to us is that the ad tech industry generates more carbon than all of air travel combined. So instead of just slapping on like a green signature on your email, why not work with some of these companies that are actually doing something at like the server level and actually doing something meaningful as opposed to just, slapping on a green logo.
And that's your responsibility.
Finding new ways to, again, like actually doing good, but again, driving something that's meaningful change. I feel like the sustainability piece is one of the big ones that's thrown around here so much, but instead of actually getting to the root cause of things, again, they're just going, we're sustainable. We have a green logo. Let's call it a day.
So it has to be, it has to be relevant, but it also has to actually deliver results.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can go like, get to like the root, like go a little bit deeper than just, some of these like surface things, just to kind of like check a box that you're following, like whatever the latest buzzword is. I mean, AI, we made it 2 minutes now before we mentioned AI. That's like another one where it's like everyone's just trying to like shoehorn just the term AI into whatever they're doing. And it's like, well, why? Like, is it actually serving a purpose and doing something good, or are you, just doing it to do it? There's companies that, we're working with now that are really driving change in behavior of physicians, like Open Evidence. It's a new platform that takes in all the medical research in the world. And if a doctor asks a question on this, it gives you a completely accurate response and then sources and shows exactly which clinical study it's pulling the response from, whereas something like, ChatGPT or whatever else, it's just, you have no idea where the data is coming from.
Right.
It's just kind of like a black box. You don't know if it's right. the open evidence platform that we're working with now passed the U.S. medical licensing board exam with a 91%. So it's
The AI tool itself
passed with a
passed the
91%.
boards.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, more than like, Google's tools. That it's insane. But being able to help, like work with a company like that to help physicians get to more data quickly, an accurate answer where no physician can keep up with the amount of medical research that's coming out now. And this is a way to kind of synthesize all of that medical research globally and give a complete accurate response no matter how complex the question may be.
What's your background? How do you become an
innovation
officer?
guy? I mean, I've been in the industry, in the agency world for about 16 years now. I started in organic search and paid search, and I feel like being in organic search, it gave you ways of thinking differently, because you would help guide content strategy for brands, and you would go through hundreds of thousands of keyword searches on Google and really see like what people are specifically asking you about your brand. That just kind of opened my eyes to a lot of different areas. And then I just kept bugging when I got to CMI. I kept bugging my bosses like, hey, are we doing this or something new? And they're like, no, well, do you want to figure it out? And I would figure it out. Started with, voice search and Alexa skills, got into the audio space. So it was basically a combination of me just like figuring out how to do things that were new that nobody else was doing or weren't really a core part of like an agency offering. And then I finally got asked, like, you just want this to be your job? And I said, yes, please.
How do you stay on top of things? I mean, obviously coming to events like this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is, everyone gives me a hard time when I say this is my favorite conference, because, I mean, you can see where we are. It's really hard not to, but it's one of the most productive conferences and the best part about here is these chance encounters with people I would never normally be in a room with. And, lots of times like we might strike an idea for some sort of partnership or something like that. But staying up, this one's great for networking and kind of coming up with new partnership ideas. But there's a lot of conferences like CES, South by, where they're just really inspiring with a lot of the new technology that's coming out. And it's good to, get out of the pharma conferences and take off the pharma blinders to see what's actually going on there. I mean, last year at South by Southwest, we met with a company called Level X, who makes video games for physicians, teaches them procedures, gives them CME credit. They're like really, really well done. And now we're working with them, bringing them to our clients, and we have a couple of them under development now. So it's, I think conferences are key. Following up on all the different trades out there. Obviously, MM+M is a great source of information.
Thanks.
I'll write the check out later. It's really a combination of like just following a lot of different news sources, different people in the technology space that I admire. Conferences are one of the biggest things for me as far as, getting to see what's really coming and what's out there.
So we're in Cannes, we're at a festival that celebrates creativity. What's the difference, or what's the similarity between creativity and innovation, and how do they interact?
I think they really go hand in hand. I mean, a lot of the stuff that my team is doing and bringing to our clients are usually first to market opportunities, and nothing like that exists before. So it forces the creative teams to come up with an entirely new way of being creative and developing creative assets for these first to market opportunities. The same way, like if there's a new creative campaign that's really unique, it allows us to kind of open the doors to test like a lot of the new channels. I mean, one of the biggest roadblocks, at least in the pharma space, is having creative assets to use with a lot of these new programs. We get approached all the time with a new offering or a new first to market opportunity, but we don't have any kind of like creative developed for it because it just wasn't in the thinking during any of like the planning process or the creative development. So now with like some of these new opportunities, audio is like a prime example. Like most creative agencies don't have the audio production capabilities to make audio assets. So now it forces them to really start to think about, people spend millions of dollars on how their brand looks, but nobody thinks about how their brand sounds. And people consume audio more than any other channel there is. And one of the stats like blows my mind is that of all digital ad impressions last year, audio got, I think it was 1%, which is mind blowing when everyone's spending their time consuming audio.
Right.
Why not have audio be a core piece of like your creative process? So questions that brands and agencies have to start thinking about is like, is your brand male? Is it female? Does it have an accent? Does it have like a dialect? And all these different things that just weren't typically part of the creative process now, and that's being driven by the massive rise in audio consumption.
The most interesting panel I ever heard here, this is my third time here. The most interesting panel I ever heard was from a guy who basically became a multimillionaire because he wrote dun 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 dun. Intel.
I was on that panel.
You were?
Yeah, that's Walter. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, exactly. It was over there.
Yeah, right there.
I'm telling you, man, that was the most interesting panel I ever sat on. I was like on the edge of my seat leaning forward.
That was literally.
My son's a sound engineer.
Oh, it was me and Walter.
So that's why I went. He was studying it at the time. Now he's graduating.
So actually, this is a prime example. Walter.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, so Walter, who did that, he started a company called Health Tunes. And because his son, I forget which condition his son has, but basically he developed this platform where you can literally go in there, select which condition you have, and it generates different types of musical playlists using like binaural audio. And it has all this clinical research about how it helps with side effects or symptoms of different conditions. It's like epilepsy was one. There's tons, like dementia was another, like helping with like these audio cues.
Yeah, and it was like stuff to listen to when you're in an MRI machine, right?
Yeah.
He was talking about like this will have.
Yeah.
I know that neurologically this is going to be very calming for you.
Yeah, it was right
over
there. It was me, Walter, and Steve. Yeah.
Mark, are there specific approaches that you think marketers can take to sort of cut through the noise and make sure that they truly are delivering an innovative product?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is don't just try and be innovative for innovation's sake, and don't just dangle a shiny object out there just to say that you're doing something new and checking a box. It really, you really have to look at the data, work with like an audience intelligence team, make sure that like the channel or medium that you're proposing, you can see that either your patient population or physician population is something that they're consuming before you really start to go after it. Because the last thing we want to do is have a brand spend all this money to do some new flashy thing that nobody uses. It's like, what the hell's the point? And it was kind of like with like Amazon Alexa skills, they're like, oh, let's do it. I'm like, well, they're like, let's create a skill. I'm like, why? Like, what are you trying to solve for here? And it's like, well, we want to do a skill. And it's like, no, but why?
But why?
Yeah. So I feel like with anything like that, we want to make sure that we bring the rationale to our clients of why this might work. Whether it's gaming or audio, or now we're doing a ton of stuff with professional sports. We want to make sure that the fan base or the population base is part of the fan base. And really make sure, again, it's going to resonate with the audience and not just be a flashy thing to, trying to win an award here, but it's actually, really driving change to the patients.
Cool and real.
Yes,
Yeah.
very exactly.
Okay. Mark, this has been great. Really
This is
appreciate it. I know it's a very busy time here at Cannes. I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk.
Thank you. I'm going to go chase the torch after this. So.
Hope you catch it.
Yeah.